Hello everyone and welcome to this new series that we are starting on this YouTube channel. So this series will be called the Excel to SQL series. So what does Excel to SQL series mean? So I am going to be teaching the basics of SQL but from an Excel user's viewpoint. Okay, so what we are going to be doing is we are going to be taking a data set in Excel like the one you see over here on the screen, and we are also then going to add this data set to a database, and we're going to perform the basic operations that are there in SQL, right? So you have basic operations such as selecting columns, filtering columns, grouping by, sorting them, filtering, and all that stuff, right? So we're going to be looking at those operations. The main principle behind making this series is that the tool is not the primary thing. It does not matter what tool you use. What matters is the concepts of the data that you carry along, right? You are doing the same work. You're applying the same concepts on data in both the tools, in SQL as well as in Excel. But what I have generally seen is that a lot of the Excel users, and why am I only looking at Excel users, is because even with all our advancements in Python and AI and everything, Excel is still the most widely used data analytics tool today in the world, right? There are lots of companies which run entirely only on spreadsheets. So Excel skills, data skills become a very important part for any person who works in finance and business and marketing and so on. And then what happens, a lot of people want to transition towards data, or a lot of people want to work in the data field, and then they realize that just Excel is not going to suffice. They will need to learn SQL, they will need to learn Python, they'll have to pick up a visualization tool and all that. And then what happens is there's pressure that that you have to learn all these tools, and they seem very alien because I've been working with Excel for 5 years, 10 years, and how will I learn a new tool? Or it's coding, this is coding is not for me, I am not a science student or whatever. So what I'm trying to do with this series is I'm trying to show you the operations of data and how similar they are in terms of approach and in terms of what we're trying to gauge, irrespective of how the tool is, right? So I'm going to, so the way we're going to do this is I'm going to be covering certain operations of SQL by first showing them how it's done in Excel, and you will relate to it even better because these are things that you do day in and day out, right? You're playing with a pivot table, you're filtering data, you're removing columns, and you're selecting only certain columns and all that. So you're doing everything on a day-to-day basis. You just need to carry that fundamentals into a new tool and just understand how it has to be done in a new tool, right? So 50% of your job is done if you know what you exactly want to do. Rest is just understanding how it can be done on a different tool, right? So with that, keeping that in mind, we are going to be starting this, and what I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm going to be explaining what we are going to do with the data set that we have over here. So if you see, we have this data set over here. So this is a video game sales data set. So we've got the name of the video game, platform, year release, genre, publisher, and the sales figures, right? So these should be in million, okay, $1 million. And then there are other columns such as developer, rating, critic, score. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using a pivot table to analyze this data, to slice this data and look at it from different angles, and we're going to be doing the same operation in the SQL database as well. Okay, so I don't have to go over how to create a pivot table and all those things, so I'll not be doing that. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to be adding this data set that we have in Excel to this one, our SQL Server database. And as you can see, we have some databases here, and I have a practice database that's there over here. So we're going to be adding that data set over here. But before we get to that, I just want to talk a little bit about the SQL Server Management Studio. So if you do not have SQL Server Management Studio, you can use any other SQL tool that you can to input a data using your Excel file, and you can start writing the queries and follow along. Or else SQL Server Management Studio is free, and you can download it easily on the internet. I will be sharing this link in the description, but essentially you can come here and you can download the free edition of SQL Server, and you can get started immediately. All right. So let's come here first and let's see how to add this data set into our database for the rest of the videos. So what I'm going to do here is you will have a set of databases here. If you do not have one, you can create one. So you can just come here and you can just create a new database, and yeah, you can just give it a name, my database. There'll be initials already there, so I'm not going to touch that, and I'm just going to keep it as is. And you can see I have a new database now. It's got no tables because you've just created it and I've not input any data, right? But this is how you can create a new data set, and you can store all your other practice files in this as well. So I'm not going to be doing it in this because I already have my practice one database. I'm going to be adding this video games data set inside this one. Okay. So I'm doing this on SQL Server Management Studio. So the process that I'll be using is specific to this tool, but you can always figure out how you can do it in your given tool as well. All right. So I'm just going to right click on the database, and you can see here there are reports and there are some options. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to tasks, and I'm going to look at import flat file. This is the one. So there's import data, there's export data, but I'm going to look at import flat file. All right, so now it wants the location of the file to be imported. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go where my data set is saved, and I'm just going to click that. So that's video game sales. All right, I'm going to click next, and now you can see the same data set that we just saw is getting loaded over here. It's just showing us what it looks like, and the first 50 rows, we have all the headers and everything. So this should be good enough. This will give you the data types. So every column has a data type. So name, platform is basically nvarchar, which is basically numeric and character, right? So basically your names, just think of it as characters. Year of release is small int because we are only taking year, which is 4 digits. Genre and publishers again nvarchar. NA sales, all the sales values are float. So float type is basically your decimal types, right? So if you want to specify anything in decimal, you can't use a small int because int is only for whole numbers, whereas float is for decimal numbers. Critic score is tiny int because these are single digits, and then developer rating again is nvarchar. All right. You can choose any one as a primary key in this case, but we're not going to be doing any joins, so it's not applicable. Some of these things you can choose if you want to allow null values, but again it's subjective. This is just based on what the software could read, so I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm going to click next. It's giving me the summary of everything, and there is a warning. What is this? Year of release. This is done. Okay, I'm just going to close this. I think we have the data set already in this. Yeah, I'm just going to refresh this tables, and you can see we have the DBO video game sales. All right, so this is the data set that that we are using. And if you want to see whether your data is showing up or not, you can come here, and there's something called as new query. So I'm just going to open this one, and that opens. Okay, so you can just type select star from dbo dot. So I'm just going to give the exact name of this table. Okay, don't worry about what does this mean, we'll get to that soon enough. And as you can see, we have all the data that we need. I think they dropped a few rows, but that's okay because we have pretty much most of the data set intact. All right. So yes, so we have this data set loaded in our SQL server. We have the data set ready in our Excel. So from the next video, we are going to be looking at simple SQL commands, and what do they mean and how they need to be written. So we will understand what the fundamental concept of that command is, what we are trying to do from a data point of view, and from an objective standpoint, and then we are going to see how we are going to execute that to get the required result. All right, so stay tuned for the series. Look out for the upcoming videos. I hope this is going to be super helpful for you guys, and I will see you in the next video. So please do like this video, and please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more data related content, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.